Welcome to today's episode of the Gavel Drops. And we've got the mortgage man, Gareth Love, in the Gavel Drops studio today. How's things with you, mate? You okay?
Yeah, really good, thank you. The Mortgage Man is probably one of the nicest nicknames I've ever had. I've had a few, but I like it, the Mortgage Man.
Mortgage man. I'm sure we've had many more. So we'll just kick straight in. So you've been in mortgages since 2000, led the Mortgage Advice Bureau in rugby since 2013. What drew you into the world of home financing?
That's a good question. So today it is A-level results day as we film this today. And the reality is on my A-level results day, I didn't get any. I think they were like old McDonald A-levels. It's just for EIEIO. My parents actually worked in the estate agency. So my route into the market was very much, well, I'm not going to university, so I'll go into estate agency with my parents' business. And then very quickly, we had a team meeting, the old-fashioned team get-togethers. And when I was at this meeting waiting for everyone to come in, I noticed all these fancier cars were turning up. I thought, who are these guys? And it was the mortgage guys and girls. So that's what really got me into it, really. My ambition to earn a few quid as a youngster, and just literally fell into it, like most people do. Just sort of fell into it.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? You start out at the start not knowing really what you want to do or where you want to go. But so with the all in and the better cars, the suits, the old school.
Yeah, it was those days of like the fancy suits, and one guy had like, I think it was like a Range Rover, and one guy had like this Porsche, which was probably 20 years old 20 years ago. So it's probably a really old Porsche now, but that's what it was. It was just that allure of being a young lad that I'd always like, even when I was sort of 16 part time, I used to work in sales, used to sell in a skiing, snowboard, and windsurfing distribution shop. Used to sell to the public, which I loved. And I've always had, I think sales is something that I've just always really had a passion for, talking to people, just finding out about people, just building a level with somebody. I always enjoyed that. So I suppose I was always like destined for a sales role. I actually did have a job very briefly at the co-op that lasted for about 2 shifts, I think, before they got rid of me. And it was at that point at 16, my parents were like, right, well, you've got to have a job. You've got to do something. So you can come and work in the office, 3 nights a week and Saturdays. And then all of a sudden it just became Monday to Friday and Saturday and Sunday. So it was just literally falling into it. But I always loved that sales side of it. It always sells for me when you're a teenager. You always look at things like it's like the Del Boy salesman, wasn't it? The wide boy salesman. I don't know what it was that attracted you to it, because it's definitely not how we conduct ourselves now as a business. But yeah, I just really, really enjoyed it, mate. And that was the thing. It was just when you enjoy something, things don't feel like work, do they? So that for me was it was a bit of a hobby more than anything. So yeah, that was me. I literally fell into it.
So obviously now you're the MD. So what's the biggest pivot that shaped the difference between from being a mortgage advisor to running what you do now? How has your systems changed in your mind, if you would say?
I think fundamentally, I still see myself as a mortgage broker. So I've not done or written mortgages probably for about 5 or 6 years now, since when the business started to grow, and it was sort of less time to focus on it, and didn't have the time to speak to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 new customers every week. It was more supporting advisors and the recruitment and the management side and all the finance bit and all that piece. That just got sort of bigger and bigger as the business grew. But I suppose I always see myself as a mortgage broker. My friends always ask me, what's the best deal I could get on this? And I love that. I get that little buzz from it. I genuinely miss it. But I think the mindset shift it's probably a really difficult thing for people. It was difficult for me to go away from the doing to the growing, if that makes sense. It's almost like letting go, because you always think you know your craft, you know your trade. You don't want to give it. You don't want to pass your clients on to somebody else, because I've always dealt with them and they know me and they trust me, and you've got to pass that over to somebody else, which was always a tough challenge. But now I love it. I love what I do now. I think nothing feels like a chore, like work to me. But that's why I absolutely love it. But yeah, it is a big change in mindset from doing the doing to almost like giving up responsibility for that and say, well, I'm going to let these people do the selling and the advice piece, because I'm a bit of a control freak. Like I do like to. I always think, well, that's not how I would have done it, but that doesn't mean I'm right. It just means that's how I did it. So yeah, it was a big shift in mindset.
Because it's hard, isn't it? Because if you've done the do, as you would say, it's hard to go, okay, I'm going to sit back and let other people do it and see. Because you're like giving them it's not giving them the responsibility, because they can do the role. It's like me as a valuer to go, well, yeah, there's a property, go and value it. when you really go, well, I can value it myself. You know, it's working in your business, isn't it, or working on it? And everyone says it, and everyone goes, "Oh, whatever." But it is true, isn't it, that there has to be a change at one point.
Yeah, there definitely does. And my mindset has always been that I mean, titles are sort of largely irrelevant to me. It doesn't matter what your title is in the business. Like everyone's got to take ownership of every aspect of their role. So, the title of a managing director or whatever these fancy titles that people like to have and give themselves, it doesn't matter because there's a fundamental difference between being a manager or a director or being a leader. And the two aren't necessarily the same thing either. But for me, it's always been about our business. Has always been about how can we help and support people, and that's I see myself more like maybe even more like a coach is the way that we'd see it, or like a partner, a business partner. So it's I've not got all of the answers. I've been in the industry now for 18 years, and I absolutely love the industry. The way that we sort of as a business, the way that we are, and the leadership team, it's about we see ourselves as like so how can we support you? How can we help you grow? What do you need from us? Anything more that you want to learn? What else can we help you with? That's very much what it's like, rather than us directing and telling people. And leadership, for me, I'm not the authority on it, but leadership's always been about showing what good looks like and helping people to get the best out of themselves. It's the same in business. It's the same in sport. It's the same in life. Being a great leader, you've got to do and do it well, and then people will pick up on that, and then they'll reach out for help.
Yeah. So it's like leading from the front, isn't it?
Yeah,
Rather than
literally that.
kind of standing there saying you need to do it this way. It's kind of showing them the way to do it. Because
Yeah,
your business is built around that, isn't it?
yeah, exactly that. And I think, the analogy is a bit like, like the old World War One films and stuff. Like you've got the captain or the officer there that stands at the back forcing people over the parapet, or you've got the type of leader that's like, come with me, but we'll go and do it together. And just for me, I've always found that way of leadership. I've always related to that more than being, I hate being told what to do. If I'm going to do the dishwasher at home and I get told, can you do the dishwasher? I think, well, I'm not doing it now you told me. I was going to do it, but no, I'm not doing it now you told me. But I've always been the sort of person that relates well to being shown how to do something. And then I can ask questions, and then that's how I learn. And I think leadership is teaching in a way. Part of it is teaching. It's not telling, it's showing and helping. And that it's just worked really well for us. And I'm sure there's many different styles of how people run their businesses, but for us, it works for us.
And so, like, motivating wise, like, what would you say your main, like, key thing difference from most other companies like yourselves when it
So
comes to motivating your team? Is it a different way of motivating them, or is it the standard?
that's a really good question. I think a lot of businesses, the trap that they fall into, particularly in any sort of sales business, so whether that might be if you're doing recruitment or if you're doing estate agency or mortgage brokering or selling cars, whatever it'll be, because it's sales, people assume that the thing that motivates and rewards people is money. And I was guilty of that maybe 7, 8 years ago. We always thought like that. We always used to think of the money that you could earn. Think of how much could you be making? What could you do with that money that you could earn? And the reality is that money is probably only the biggest driver, I'd say, for probably a quarter of our sort of sales force or our advisors. A lot of people, money's not the big driver. It might be in the top three, but it's probably not the number one. So the key for us is to really find out what is the driver, what is the motivator for you. It could be a number of things. So it could be the money. It could be to be part of something bigger. It could be part of a team. It could be recognition. It could be the feeling of being needed and respected. There's many different things like human needs that people have. And financial reward is one of them, but it's not the be all and end all. The best way it works for us is we will find out what truly motivates people. And do you know what? Some people get it wrong. They think that their motivation is money, and it turns out not. It might be recognition amongst their peers as being a top tier advisor, or whatever that means. But yeah, that's the key for us. We want to spend the time, and everybody's different. And we've got 50 odd brokers around the country, and they're all different. They're all unique. They're all very different personalities, different people, share a sort of common interests. They want to build their businesses and with our support to do that. But we've got to find out those different ways and what actually motivates those 50 individual people. And then you've got to change your approach in how that works with each individual person.
Yeah. Because it is difficult when you've got so many different types of self-employed people. You can't put them all in the same bucket and say they all want to earn it. Because some people I've found from doing discovery calls with everyone's different. Everyone's like financial goals are always different compared to everyone else's.
Yeah, definitely. And that's, you chose the word there, self-employment, right? So self-employment for me doesn't mean anything. And it's not a blasé or a flippant way about thinking about it, but my opinion has always been in a sales role, so whether it's in a financial advisory role, it's advice, but it's still selling a product to get a financial reward at the end of it. If it's auctions, if it's property, whatever it might be, any aspect of sales, if you've got to sell to keep the job, if you're employed and you're on a salary and 4 or 5 months later you haven't sold anything, that salary will get taken off you. So the idea of a secure job doesn't exist, does it really? You've got to sell to keep that secure salary. So if you've got to sell either way, you may as well be retaining the bulk of the money for all the selling that you're doing. And that's always been my mentality. I've got to sell to keep going. So I want to keep the money for the selling that I'm doing. So self-employment for me is literally just a tax status. It's a mindset more than anything, isn't it? If your mindset is one of being successful at what you do, how you're paid for that and how you're rewarded for that is irrelevant. Whether you're employed, self-employed, it doesn't matter. If you've got the right mindset about having a goal, having a plan and executing the plan, then it doesn't matter if you're employed or self-employed. And by virtue of that, if it doesn't matter, you may as well choose the option that's going to reward you the most for it.
Yeah. I think that's people's misconceptions, isn't it? When it's self-employed, it's like, well, what happens if it doesn't work? But if it doesn't work in a job, you're still going to be in the same position you are if it didn't work as self-employed.
And I had I hate calling them interviews as well, because I don't like the word interview. I think that's not how we do things. We had a big conversation for an hour and a half with a broker for a very successful guy who's actually running a team to come and sort of partner with our business. And we had exactly that conversation. And do you remember back in the start of the year, we had our conference. We had this guy called Paul McGee came, called the Sumo Guy. So if anyone's listening, Google Sumo Guy. And he said this thing it resonated so much with me. If on a scale of 1 to 10, you were to put this issue, let's say one is fantastic, brilliant, but 10 is imminent death. Imminent death. The outcome of this, if this goes wrong, is death. Where would you put going self-employed and giving it a go? And the reality is like a 2 or a 3, because the worst case scenario for somebody to try and launch their own business, as long as they've planned it properly and they've got the right mindset, it'll be successful. But if for any reason it's not successful, what's the outcome of it? It's not death, is it? It's going to have to get another job again, going back to a job. For most people, if you've been at a company and you've done really well, if you leave on the nicest terms, don't burn bridges, never burn any bridges, the chances are that company will probably take you back anyway. Well, and if not, then you'll go and find another job somewhere else. So it's a big step for a lot of people, but I think sometimes people overthink the step that they're taking.
Yeah, I think as well. I think it's that, because we've had people come over to us and it's the belief in themselves that stops them doing taking that leap. And then when they come over and they go, and as you say, the support you give them people to feel like they can achieve them goals is the key to how you've built your business.
Yeah, definitely. And that's that thing that you mentioned about mindset. So if you think about it's usually limiting beliefs. And most people have some form of limiting belief, that they have a belief where, and it probably stems from our upbringing, from our parents, right? So I was very lucky. I always had really entrepreneurial parents that ran businesses, and they built great businesses. They sold them. They were really successful. So they were really motivation for me. So we've never had like a limiting belief mindset. But how many times do you hear families say, just get a steady job, just go and work for that's a good company to work for, job for life, all these sort of phrases. It's almost like putting you down. And it's the same in work now. I hear this all the time, that people that are in 30 or 40 or 50 pounds a year jobs almost allow people that are in 60, 70,000 pound a year management jobs, tell them that they can't go and earn 150, 200, 250,000 pounds. And that's the sort of chain of how it works. We let people that are the one step above keep us down. And actually, what's the worst possible outcome is never giving it a go, never seeing what you're truly capable of, because self-employment with the right mindset will just open up so many more doors for people. So I think it's, I'm not saying the whole world should be self-employed. Of course, there's jobs that, it serves a purpose. But for somebody that's sat there that's thinking, I'm not being paid what I should be paid, or I'm putting all this work in to build somebody else's business, or even just I wonder if I could do this myself, with the support of the right people. We've got advisors in our business that will earn fantastic incomes this year. We've got one guy who won't mind me saying, Sean Coleman. He works with his wife, Sue, who supports him massively. We've worked together for 5 years. He was car finance before that. He's never, for 30 years he's in car finance. He's only 5 years as a broker. He will earn a significant six-figure income, but also his lifestyle is, if he wants to go on 7, 8, 9, 10 holidays a year or trips abroad, he's been to New Orleans for 3 weeks. He's got somewhere else booked. He's been a couple of other places. He works with his wife. If they want to go away for the weekend, or they want to go and play golf on a Monday morning or down the pub on a Friday afternoon, whatever it is, they've got that freedom and flexibility to do it. So for the right people with the right mindset, it can literally be life changing, not just the money, but the lifestyle as well.
Yeah, the flexibility of it. So yeah, outside the office, you play rugby locally and hit the slopes. But what's one thing people would be surprised to learn about your life off screen?
What a question. What's one thing that people
No
would
one
be
will, no
surprised?
one would know.
No one would know about me. I don't know. I think I'm a real open book, probably too open. What's one thing that people wouldn't know about me? Oh, I don't know, Ray. What's one thing? I could make something up now.
Anything when you were, if there was anything when you were a kid
Yeah,
that you'd done that no one would know.
yeah, absolutely there is, to be fair. Nothing I'm going to admit to on camera. There is. That when I was younger, I used to windsurf competitively. That was my big hobby. I used to be the British junior champion, which now, obviously, like 8 stone heavier than I was, I'd probably sink nowadays, wouldn't I? But yeah, I used to go all around the world doing it, really. So it was
Did
good
you?
fun. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
mad.
I never knew that at all.
Yeah, and something I might take it up again. I'm obviously a bit older now and a bit heavier, and my joints don't work like they used to when I was 16, 17. But yeah, I loved it, mate. We used to go all around the world. It's like surfing, but with a sail, basically, isn't it? So wave sailing, like all that sort of thing. Absolutely loved it. But the only reason I not gave it up, because that's the wrong phrase, it just sort of like tailed off, was, I'd go to a competition. It was always like go to like the west of Ireland for a competition, and you'd sit there for 4 days with no wind, no waves, and then your rates still be on like in Wales, just camping, having a great time, perfect conditions, having a beer and a barbecue at night time, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm just sat there waiting for it to happen. I sort of lost the love for it, and then yeah, rugby's been a massive part of my life. You know what? Generally, I'm quite an open book, so I don't have any like surprise thing. I'm not an axe murderer or anything like that. So
No surprise secrets. So you do talk about unrivaled customer journey. What does that actually mean in real terms in your business when someone joins you?
So the best way that I could answer that would be, we have in our business, we have a set of core values, right? And this is something that Sean and I came up with about 7, 8 years ago. And the idea behind core values is to aid our recruitment journey. So what do we stand for? Nowadays, and we're in 2025, but nowadays, loads of people talk about culture, the culture of your business. We can't tell you what the culture of the business is, or we can't take any credit for the culture of the business, because by virtue of it being culture, it's been cultivated, hasn't it? So the culture is an outcome of what we believe in and what we stand for. So our customer journey, if you link that back, our core values will stand around things like being the best version of yourself, being willing to learn, taking ownership, being positive, enjoying the job, getting stuff done, all these real life examples. And what that means for us as our business, because if it is an advisor, if I was the best version of myself, and I always took the time to learn and get better, took ownership and positively enjoy it, customer experience would be fantastic. The customer experience would be amazing. So if the experience for the customer is amazing by virtue of what I believe in, then the money will take care of itself, right? So if I have those behaviors, then the experience of the customer is fine. They'll transact with me, which means the money takes care of itself. So by that virtue, in our business, we don't have any targets. We don't set a target. We don't say, what's the target this month? What we help and support our advisors with is, what do you want to earn? So what does that look like? We sort of work it, we almost reverse engineer it, if that makes sense. So for me, having a brilliant customer journey is just a product of, what do you stand for and believe in, and what type of people do we want in the business? So over the last 7, 8 years, I've had numerous sort of meetings with people thinking about partnering with our business, and actually they don't really fit into what our core values are, what we stand for. They're more of these sort of old school, leave me alone. I'm a lone wolf. I do things this way. I don't want to get involved in all of that stuff. And it's like, that's great. And I'm not doubting they're not successful people writing great business, but it's not what we're after in our business. So because we've been really, we've recruited by those set of standards, that means that the culture within the business is fantastic, and therefore the experience for a customer. And we want to change, be the future of mortgage broking. Make mortgages aren't fun, are they? Let's be honest. What's fun about signing yourself up for 300 grand debt for the next 25 years? But we want to make it an enjoyable experience, an easy experience, as stress free as possible, build great relationships with people. And that's what it means for us. Having a customer journey that's a product of how we are as people.
Think as well is because obviously Faye from your place done my mortgage this year, and what I got away from it was she made it as simple as possible, if that makes sense, and as less stressful as possible. And I think when you're buying a house and going through that process, it's, as you know, it's one of the most stressful things in the world to do. But when the finances are made easy, it's such an easier thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a big old mortgage business, and it's all I've ever done. But I'm literally going through this process myself at the moment. We've just sold our house. We've just found the house. It's like the dream home, if you like. So now I'm like, right, I don't want to lose that. I can see where I'm going to put my sofa. I can see where I'm going to be sat watching the TV with the log burner on in in a cold November afternoon. I can see all this stuff, right? So now I've got my heart set on it. And as much as I try and not do that, it is reality, isn't it? Right? So I can get why it's stressful for people, because the stress doesn't necessarily come from the amount of work to do. The stress comes from the confusion and how our industry mortgages are the same now as they were in 1985. It's 40 years later, other than using a computer rather than writing out the applications. The process is still the same. It still takes too long. It's still too confusing. So what we want to do is to help people by taking away all of that pain, free up your time, talking, common sense, normal language that you can understand. Just let you know what you should be doing, what you need to do, what you don't need to do, what you don't need to worry about. We'll take all that away and we'll do that. And actually, that's probably why in the UK, 90% of mortgages, nearly 90% of mortgages in the UK this year will be done by a mortgage broker. And it's not because people can't do it themselves. It's because it is an old-fashioned, laborious, painful process to go through. And people just don't want that anymore. So there are 100 and something different lenders in the UK. Even if they still had a high street presence, which, let's be honest, most banks don't now, it'd take you 2.5 weeks to go around all of those banks to be able to find out what's the right deal for you. So why not speak to a mortgage broker who's going to do all the heavy lifting for you? There are lenders out there that exclusively work with mortgage brokers. The lenders out there that exclusively work with us. We've got lenders out there that will work as part of Mortgage Advice Bureau. They partner with them, and that's it. So why not? Is that not worth its weight in gold? Okay, there might be a fee to pay, but if that fee, that relatively small fee, saves you thousands over the next 25 years, why not?
Yeah, I think it's just, especially in this day and age when everyone's so busy, you're applying for a mortgage. It's the hoops you've got to jump through. It's easier to someone say, just do this, 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 and you can tick them off and you're done, rather than going knowing which ways to go and what form you need to fill out and how you need to fill it. Do we need to fill out this or do we need to fill out that? Do you need this information? Do we need that information? It was so much easier.
And that's the thing. It's like, questions always, I'll give you an example. The question is always asked, like, what credit commitments have you got? And people just go, well, actually, you know what? I won't say anything. Don't tell them, and they'll just ignore it. It's all, they know what you've got. They can see what you've got. They just want you to tell them what you've got. It was a weird game of cat and mouse, isn't it? So lenders can see everything. You've got credit files, got everything on. They just want you to be on. And that's the sort of education piece that brokers give. It's like, tell me everything. Tell me everything. I'll show you the best way to do something, or the right way to do something. If you try and hide things and you try and not declare things or disclose things or move things around, it all comes out in the wash at the end. That's where sales fall through and you don't get the outcome that you want. Yeah, that's the thing. A good broker, it will massively aid the process.
Yeah, I get it. And I think as well, because it takes so long anyway, it'll speed it up something dramatically. So managing mortgage advisors across the whole of the country, there must be some drama. But what's your favourite part?
Do you know what? Because we have those core values, we don't have the drama. We have some lively Christmas parties. We don't have the drama. Although, to be fair, my brother might listen to this. My older brother works with us as well, and he's a great lad. He's a great advisor. And obviously, being brothers, it's probably a slightly different dynamic, isn't it? Because, we are brothers, we grew up together. But it's good fun, but he's a great, great advisor. But my favourite part of it is our model is around, we don't charge people monthly fees. So you don't have to pay a monthly fee to come and join us. And we earn off the fees that we charge you. We're only successful when you're successful. So when you bring that business in, you keep that lion's share of it. That's when we're successful as well. Now, for me, the favorite part is seeing how when we sit down with people and we go through almost like a vision board. What do you want out of this? What does success look like for you? And think big and think even bigger. Like, what's the dream? Okay, you might want to have 2 holidays a year. Where do you want to go? When do you want to get there by? What does the house look like? Or, what else is there for people? Some people it's cars or watches or travel or being able to look after a family member or pay their mum's mortgage off, whatever it might be. But we write it all down, we document it, and the bit that's the biggest pleasure for me is seeing the people that achieve that. And thinking, okay, so what we talk about when we have these initial meetings, these discovery calls, what we talk about, how we help and support you to achieve what you want to achieve, when they actually do it, that's always like the validation bit, because it does make you feel good, doesn't it? Yeah. Tell you what, I am probably one of those 20-25% people that wants to, I am driven by, reward and financial reward. That's what I'm about. But I love the fact that you can help get some like phenomenal messages. That when I move house, this is one of my plans, is the messages that I've had, the texts, the WhatsApps. When it's usually around Christmas, isn't it? When people get all a bit soppy and they want to send a nice message out. But when I get those messages about how working and partnering with us has changed their life and helped them to achieve stuff, they're the ones that I'm printing out, having them framed and putting on my wall behind my screen. Because it's just a reminder. But yeah, for me, I love that. It's such a buzz.
Yeah, and it's watching other people, isn't it? Reaching the goals that actually, when they probably first started and the targets were there, they were aiming for them, but they didn't think they were achievable at the time.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, a year ago to the day, we had a guy start with us called Mark. He's a great guy based up in Derby, mentored by one of our longest serving advisor, who's a friend of his. And Mark was in a different industry entirely. Brian had some great success, so Mark sort of saw that and wanted to get into it. That sort of thing. Like, oh, he's doing really well. I'll get into that. And they've worked together, and we've all worked together to sort of help Mark build his business. And fast forward a year, I think the money that Mark's earning, the business that he's writing, he was in Florida with his little boy and his wife, and he put a really cool post on Facebook about it. And that's the difference. A year down the line, how someone's life can change in a year with the right support, the right mindset. So Mark's done the work. I'd like to think our support is like literally first class, but Mark's had to do the work and do the doing. So he's done it, he's stuck to it, and how his life's changed in that year is like, it's phenomenal for him, but it's great for us. It's a great endorsement for our company, for our brand, but it's a nice feeling for us, for me and Brian, definitely.
Yeah, to being part of it. So, what is a typical morning for you? How does your day start?
Early at the minute, because the sun comes at like 4, doesn't it? So it's really early at the minute. And I've got a little spaniel that loves to bark. But yeah, so probably my morning starts usually I'm not one of these. Me and my partner, we call it adult bragging. It's who can get up the earliest. It's like, I get up at 6, I get up at 5, I get up at 10 minutes before I go to bed. But I'm not one of those guys. I'm usually about 6, 6:15. So I'm not the 5 a.m. club. I value my sleep. I really, really like to sleep. But I get up. Usually it's dog walk, because my dog, you could walk him for 5 hours and he won't tire out. So I usually get him to walk. I've just joined this new gym, which is incredible. So I'm so motivated by this new gym because it's such a cool place to be. And then I like personally, I come to the office every single day. I'm in the office now. I love being in an office. I've got an office at home, which I don't sit in, because if I sit there, I just look out the window and I think that grass could do with a mow. I'll just do that now. And when I'm doing the next thing, I'm just jet washing the patio, and I'm just doing this, and I'm just going to paint something. And that's what I need to be in my work mode. So, and actually, I work with a load of my mates here. So the other businesses that I have, the guys that run those, there's like 6 of us that work together, are my best friends. So it's a fun environment to be in. But I'll get here usually every morning without fail. I'll get a coffee, a takeaway coffee. That's one of my vices. I've got a coffee machine at home, a bean to cup, proper, thing coffee machine. I bought it all, did it all. By the time I made one coffee, which was okay, I can't do that yet. By the time I cleaned it all down, I thought I'd rather go and spend £3.50 and buy one from the shop. So I do that every day, and then get to the office for about 9, 9:15 every day.
And then that's the start of the day.
And then I'll sit down. Like some days, you sit down and you look at your phone and you watch, like, oh my god, it's like 4 o'clock and I've not got up yet. I've not even stood up yet. Because the days get busy and they get run away with you, don't they? And then you think, that all of a sudden, 1 minute you're going back to work Monday morning, everyone telling the stories of the weekend, and then all of a sudden now, like, look at now, it's 2 o'clock on a Thursday, and I'm like, where's that week gone? It just flies past.
Weeks don't half fly.
When you're having fun.
Balancing business and leadership with real life isn't easy. So how do you keep the balance between the two? Because I know you like to travel.
Yeah, that's one of the beauties of like the world nowadays, right? That you can work from anywhere, so you can actually work from anywhere. So I do love to travel. I like to get away, but that doesn't mean I stop doing what I'm doing. I was away 2 weeks ago. We were away for a meeting abroad, which was cool. We had a bit of downtime as well. Played a bit of golf. Couple of gin and tonics, the usual. But then we had a great. I had a great trip with 6 of us, 3 couples, all really close friends. We went away, and actually, two of those people are in the experts group. So one's a recruitment director, one's a very, very successful estate agent, and the other couple, 2 friends of mine, Dan runs a recruitment business, and Kelly runs a massive car leasing company that she owns. So all six of us that went away are all self-employed. Every single one of us is self-employed. So at the times that all six of us have just got to do a bit of work, and that's cool. That's not a problem. So every morning, obviously, people get up at different times, and somebody's on the laptop
Yeah.
outside, somebody's under the cover, somebody's in the lounge doing a bit of quick Teams call or whatever. But that's a nice way to work, isn't it? Like I can go and do 3-4 hours worth of work, but then I've got the rest of the day and the evening to enjoy myself. And I'm doing it we were in Spain. A friend of ours has got a place out there, so yeah, it's such a great thing nowadays that I think the only reason the 9 to 5 exists, the only reason it ever existed was because you had to get to the office at 9 in the morning in case the work phone rang. And if you work in the office, it could ring. So nowadays with mobile phones, technology. I mean, I'm in the office today, but I could be, if I had my background on, I could be sat on a beach, couldn't I? Like getting a suntan, and we wouldn't know. So it's not that people wouldn't know. It's just we have the flexibility now and the right mindset that if people are self motivating, why can't you go and work from? If you're going to go abroad and hold in, you've got the ability to work. Why can't we do that? And there's a lot of companies that think that they like that freedom and flexibility. They think that that's what they advertise. You've got the freedom and flexibility, but you still have to come in the office 3 days a week. And it has to be every Wednesday because everybody's on a Wednesday. It's not really freedom and flexibility. True freedom is where you can run your business, or your business runs itself whilst you're not there or whilst you're abroad.
I think that's the key, isn't it? Because like we were away for the MD event in Marbella, and I run an auction from our meeting room.
Literally. So your clients wouldn't have known any different whether you were based up in the Northwest or whether you were in Spain. They wouldn't have known any different. They still got exactly the same results or better results than they could have expected. But you were doing that from abroad, and that's the key. We were all there for 2 days. It's like big meeting, loads of share of ideas. It was great. The businesses still have to run, don't they? Whilst we thought, just shut them down for 2 days and go away. So doing the calls or getting up a bit early in the morning to get on the laptops and get a bit of emails done. That email you've got to send out, but I think that's a miles better way of working. I would rather go away 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times a year and carry on working all year, not have that 2 weeks off, than I would work myself to the bone for somebody else 9 till 5, which becomes 6 and 7. Have 2 weeks where I don't hear of anything, and then go back to work into chaos. I'd rather just keep going and keep working. I love it. I don't see work as a chore. It genuinely is it's like a hobby for me. Obviously, it's quite a bit more serious than a hobby. We've got people's livelihoods and families to think about, but that's why I wouldn't ever want to put it down and leave it alone for a month, because I love it. I think it's fantastic.
I think if you enjoy it, isn't it? You don't work. It's not work, is it? If you enjoy it. So in the industry, then, would you say mortgage advisors are predominantly, most of them, employed, as in work 9 to 5 in an office, or do they still have a lot of them in the estate agency branches as well?
Yeah, it's still a thing where you got the estate agency based advisor. That's still a thing. We've got some advisors that work with estate agency partners that we work with, and they do a great job. I would say it's probably 50-50. 50% of people are employed, maybe 50% self-employed. Obviously, within estate agency, there's been a real burst of self-employment over the last 3 or 4 years. It's got a lot of traction, and it's becoming more attractive. Want better lifestyles, earn more money, being more controlled. But mortgages has always been that sort of split between employed and self-employed. So it's not a brand new thing. It's as far back as when I started, sort of like 17, 18 years ago. Half of the team were self-employed, half are employed. So yeah, and that's a good thing. I mean, there's still a market for it. I don't think I'm not one of these people that sits there and says everybody should be self-employed, because I think there's still some people employment absolutely suits. In our industry, if you're new to it and you want to learn, employment can be a fantastic way of doing it. People always confuse the argument between employed and self-employed with the argument between good and bad. There are some phenomenal employed estate agents. And self-employment is not for everybody. It's not for everybody. There are some people that do a great job, are well paid on a PAYE basis, and they love it and they enjoy it and they are happy with what they have. And that is absolutely fine. We work with some brilliant employed estate agents, and they're great. They're market leaders by country mile. So it's not for everybody, but it's for those people. I think for brokers, mortgage brokers, auctioneers, whatever it might be, it's for the people that just want something different.
And obviously, you do mortgages, isn't it? We deal a lot. We deal with Knight yourselves for the auction finance. So how's that market performing, considering with all the rates changes and stuff like that, would you say, in the last year or so?
Right, just to bring that back, mortgages is like quite an old-fashioned industry, as I said before. We still do, but we use computers, right? So now if you came to me and said, Gareth, I want to buy this house, I've got this deposit, I earn this, what can I borrow, how much will it cost? I can tell you within like 5 minutes. Like I can tell you almost to the penny what it's going to cost you. So our business, Knights Road Commercial Finance, that is it's a commercial business finance, commercial asset finance, all sorts of different things. That industry is so even further old fashioned where you can't even just work out what the cost is going to be. So you have to, lenders will do like the price for risk, or they want to see a case study for it. We have to get a load of information, a load of documents put together, know which lenders might want to lend on that sort of thing. And then they go to them, and then 3 or 4 days later, they might come back with terms, and you tell the client, oh, it's going to be 9.5%. And they go, well, we're paying that. It doesn't go anywhere. So it's actually, it's a busy market at the minute. You know, Matt's my business partner there. He's really, really busy. We've got a great team of brokers in there as well. But yeah, there's a lot of activity in that, because it's not just the auction finance, obviously with you guys and how you guys have grown has been fantastic for us as a partner, but also for the assets that we do, like asset finance and stuff like that. It's a huge market. Yeah, and interest rates, you know, is a good driver, isn't it, for the housing market in general, or for any business. You know, a lower interest rate will encourage more people to spend money and to borrow money. So, you know, when borrowing expert costs are higher, the market for that tends to drop a bit, which is natural. Now we're seeing those rates drop. We're at 4% from last week. I think it dropped to 4%.
Yeah.
It's just my feeling. I'm not an economist. I'm not an economist. I'm not a LinkedIn economist where everyone's got an opinion. But I think if we can get those rates to sort of sub 4%, when they're at that 3.75, maybe even 3.5%, as a consumer, I think that gives people quite a bit of confidence and a bit of a shot in the arm for all of these markets, where they'll go, okay, well, that's now, it went up to what, if fixed rates were at 6% 2-3 years ago, now we're getting them down to the early fours. When we just drop below that 4%, I think that'll really spur people on.
Yeah, spare people on. Because I think as well, I find, especially in the auction space, a lot of people don't realise they can finance anything.
Yeah.
They think they predominantly have to buy it all cash.
And that's probably why people think that you get auction properties cheaper because it's cash only. And that's the myth. That's the myth, isn't it? The big myth is people think that properties that sell at auction sell cheaper. And I can testify, having sat there and watched your auction, it's not how it works at all. Like, it's not how it works. So, you know, I'd have no qualms about putting something in an auction to see how people bid against each other. Okay, you might have a reserve that starts lower, but some of these are going way in excess of what the guide price might be, because there's that demand there. And that's the truth. Unless something is structurally, defunct and it cannot be financed, there's usually a way to finance most things. Like Matt's got an example of it was like the guy wanted it. I think it was for something like a MOT testing station or a storage unit. And if you saw photos, which I've seen, of this unit, like it's not even got a roof and it's only got 3 walls, and you think it looked like an abandoned sort of thing on a bit of land with all the grass overgrown. And I'm like, no way is anybody going to finance that. And Matt got it financed with a prominent high street lender at like 75% loan to values. There's usually an outlet for most things with finance, definitely.
Yeah, because people seem to always do that bit after, don't they? Do you predominantly get people who come to your fair? Because we don't. We always get people come to us after they've bought and said, I bought this, now I need finance, right? Because actually, I don't want to spend all my money.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing, right? So I use this as an example this morning. So near where I live, there's a car garage, which is like the Lamborghini, Ferrari, Bentley. It's a really cool garage. I've never been in it, but it looks really cool. They've got all the fancy cars in. And if I just turned up there and said, oh, I'm here to test drive that £200,000 Lamborghini, they would just laugh me out of it. They'd just laugh me out of the shop, wouldn't they? To test drive that sort of car, if I'm going to go and do 20 miles in it, I'm probably going to knock £1,000 off the value of the car, aren't I, by virtue of just doing those miles. You have to prove your income, prove what you do, prove that you can afford it, how you'd finance it, and then they'll arrange a test drive for you. But when people come to buy properties, they just plough ahead, whether it's auction or not. They just plough ahead. They find their dream home, then they worry about how much it's going to cost, or whether they can even get a mortgage afterwards, which seems a bizarre way. And I think that's where we, estate agents, auctioneers, letting agents, whatever it might be, we have a responsibility just to educate customers to say, look, this is the process. Let us tell you what the process is and what works best, rather than you think sort of plowing ahead and doing something and potentially, if it's an auction, putting a deposit down and then worrying about how they're going to pay for it afterwards. Let's just spend half an hour, give you the accurate figures, work out what's best for you, get you the agreement in principle, or get you a funding line that you're happy with. Then you can go and bid in confidence, can't you? With confidence that you've got options available to you. So, yeah, it's a bizarre way that Andy works sometimes.
The hammer's dropped. They paid the 10% deposit and then they go, now I need to finance it and I need it done in 28 days. And you're like, well, why didn't you just check that before? But it is one of them weird. as you say though, you potentially wouldn't go and drive a Ferrari 200 not knowing that whether you, one, could afford to buy it, or if you've got the finance in place to basically fund the car.
Yeah,
But with housing, it's different.
yeah.
So let's go through a quick fire round. Best piece of advice ever someone's ever given you?
Find out what your customers want and give it to them is one bit of advice. And I can't remember, there's somebody very famous that said that. The second one is continue to do the same thing and expect a different result is the definition of insanity. I think that was Einstein. And the third one was it's fair and it's beneficial to both parties and it's fair and reasonable. Why wouldn't you consider it? And that was Sean Newman, which I think is a brilliant bit of advice.
Yeah, they are good ones. Guilty pleasure to unwind after a long day?
A pint of Guinness
Pint.
or 7
Pint of Guinness. Favorite chocolate bar?
Snickers or Twix or Kit Kat. There was a reason I was 24 stone, Ray, a year ago. It's because I know chocolate bars. I've not driven past a petrol station since 2006 and not had a Kit Kat. So
Oh, they are. Favorite drink? Alcoholic or non-alcoholic? Whatever you want to choose.
love a pint of Guinness in the autumn. Love a red wine any time of the year, and I really at the minute I'm loving a gin and tonic, a non-alcoholic flat white.
Favorite holiday destination?
Anywhere in the Alps.
And then one place you've never visited but is on your bucket list to visit next.
I've got two actually, just considering one for next year. So I also don't believe in this, like, put it off one day, just get it done, like get it booked in, work out a way to pay for it. We'll work it out. If you can afford it, do it now because tomorrow is not guaranteed. I've got two, Japan, just because I think to go to a culture that you can't understand and things like in English, it's just, you'll be so far out of your comfort zone, it's just be a real experience. And then the other one is Patagonia.
Okay, right. So last question. What's one nugget of advice you'd give to someone who is currently employed as a mortgage broker? They want to take that leap to become self-employed and have their own business.
I would say explore different options so that you've not just sort of jumped into something. So explore 2 or 3, 4 options. Find that business that you can partner with, or find the advice that you can get that's going to give you the best head start as possible. And then realize that with the right plan, properly executed, you're probably going to be successful. And the worst case, as I said before, the worst case is not death, is it? We're not doing this thing and something bad's happening to us. The worst case is you go cap in hand and you go get your employed job again. I would just say, don't live to regret it. We'll all have those times that we think, right, now I'll do it one day, but we're going to buy a house first. And my partner are going to buy a house first. And then it becomes, well, I'm going to do it soon, but then we're going to have kids. And then when the kids are a bit older, we'll do it. And when the kids have left home, and then by that point, well, I'm in my 50s now and I'm too late for me to do it. So just don't live with regret. If you want to try something, have a plan, stick to it, develop your plan, but don't live with regret.
Just go for it, isn't it?
Exactly.
The key to just, because as you say, the worst case scenario, it doesn't work out, but at least then you go, well, I've ticked that box. I can't remember what it was, but someone said, you may get to that point where you go, this is not for me. This is not for me at all. I don't even like it, or it hasn't worked out, but it wasn't for me. But then at least you can tick that off and go, well, I tried. It wasn't for me, but now I'm doing something different.
So I think, we've got 50 odd self-employed people in that business. There's like 25 in other businesses that we've got. There's hundreds amongst the businesses in the wider group, right, that with the experts group. And the difference between the successful agents and the people that aren't successful is probably not even ability. It's the people that want it, that plan it and execute it. So if you've got a plan, don't get me wrong here, there are some people that abilities, obviously, of course, they change, don't they? Like there are some people that have got 20 years experience and they're great at what they do. But nobody's born with the ability to sell houses or to arrange mortgages or insurance. Like we learn these things. So make sure you're committed to learning, have your plan, find somebody that's had success. Most successful people, even if it's just because they love talking about themselves and what's made them good, but most successful people are always happy to share what they do. They don't see it as a threat. If you're that successful, that you've built a great business, like I don't see what we do as a threat. If you want to step on your own, I'll happily help you and talk through what we've done, what works for us, because there's so much business to go around. So find somebody that's had that level of success that you want and learn from them, and you'd be surprised. Reaching out, most people will want to help.
Yeah, to give you that advice. Well, that's great advice. And seems like you're not in the Gavel Drop studio, I'll do it for you. But that is
I'm going to go air one.
Gareth Love's Gavel Drop podcast.